So the first thing I'm going to do is have everybody stand up. And I want you to think about everything that was going on earlier today. Think about school, work, relationships. And I want you to bring it right here to the center. And on the count of 3, we're going to yell, scream, and push it out. And that'll allow you to focus on what we're doing here today. Okay, ready? 1, 2,
2,
3.
3.
Thank you. You can sit down. Yeah, so the Game Developers Foundation is an organization that a few of us have started to help increase the diversity in professional game development. So we have a couple different missions. Our first mission is to provide scholarships for underrepresented demographics in the game industry to help them go to university to learn to make games. So the first off is scholarships, and then secondly, if other nonprofits are teaching games to younger children, they can request money from us or information, knowledge from us, and we'll share it with them. So I'm the executive director, so I kind of run the day-to-day for the company, for the nonprofit, and make sure that everybody's in the right place at the right time. You know, I think there's a lot of different schools depending on how you want to learn. If you want a fast-paced, quick learning, then Full Sail is a really good place for that. If you're looking for just a master's degree, Full Sail offers that, but other universities like the Guildhall in Texas is really good for master's programs. And then there's a lot of other universities now starting to teach game development. So it's about finding the place that is right for you and the learning style that's right for you. For me, I went to Full Sail because I wanted to learn really quickly and get out and be making games in the industry within a couple years. And they also have a really big network of alumni that I wanted to be able to tap into and work with. So that was what was important to me, but it may be different for different people. So the next lesson we're going to talk about is a two-parter. The first part is about games, and the second part is about career. So for the first part, it's about focusing on the fun. When you're making a game, it's supposed to be fun. It's a game. So if you're adding something to your game and it's not fun, you should probably take it out of your game. This can be really hard. Sometimes you'll work on something for hundreds of hours and then realize it just doesn't work. Fun is really hard to define, but you'll know when something plays well or not. Don't be afraid to take something out of the game if it isn't fun. The second part is about focusing on the fun that you have in your career. I had got to a point at id where I wasn't really having fun anymore, so I decided it was time to find something more fun to do. So I found the weirdest, funnest, goofiest game being made in the world. So I ended up going to Epic Games to work on Fortnite. And the next lesson that I learned while I was there was that you needed to surround yourself with passionate people. I really like working with younger people because you're all very passionate. And I'm basically a vampire and take your passion. So thanks for that. It's important that you're working with younger people, but you also need older people to help teach you new skills that you may not know. So it's important to diversify your team that you hire. Luckily, we had that at Epic. I think each engine provides different value, right? So some are more powerful for bigger games, some are better for multiplayer games. Unity is great for smaller size games, smaller size teams, and really awesome for like mobile titles. And some of their newer games scale really well to big kind of AAA. So yeah, it's an awesome engine. I've used it for years. Yeah, so game monetization has changed quite a bit. Right now we kind of have a couple different ways to monetize games, right? So the first way is just you pay for it, right? So it's $60, $70, whatever it might be, and you get the box copy or the digital copy. There's free-to-play games that do microtransactions, and that's evolving a lot right now because we were doing like loot crates, but governments tend to not like loot crates, scammers tend to not like loot crates because it's very gambling. So we've changed to more direct acquisition, which is where limited time offers you can buy something. So microtransactions are going to stick around forever, and there's a lot going on there. Then you also have like early access or crowdfunding, which is pretty common.
Not as common for crowdfunding, but early access is kind of the other one where you're voting with your dollars for a game to be successful. And for me, that's something I love because I work with smaller teams now and they really need those dollars to pay me, but to also be successful. But yeah, it's what's awesome about monetization in games is it's always evolving and changing, and there's so many different ways to do it, right? So you can do it one way or the other, or just do whatever fits best for your game.
The next trend we're going to talk about is free-to-play games. It's been around for a long time, but it really started to get big with games like Dota 2 and League of Legends. And it was the first time that we had seen games that were free-to-play make more money than games that cost to buy. It can be a little bit risky, but the potential for revenue is way higher with free-to-play games. And the interesting thing about free-to-play games is that only 10% of your players are ever going to buy anything. And the really interesting part is that 1% will spend 60% on your game. We call those people whales. We make all the money from them. It's cool. So when you're working on games like this, you have to focus on making sure that the content that you add really works for that 10%.
Yeah, serious games are expanding because I like to say that to people that want to make games, it's a higher calling in a sense because it's how all humans and most creatures on planet Earth learn. If you look at a little cub, that's how they learn how to hunt, and most creatures learn through play. So serious games are great at both teaching things, but also helping with people, for people to recover from trauma, or learn how to do new things like be in drastic situations. So I've seen a lot of work with militaries and a lot of work with hospitals lately getting bigger, as well as just education. So I think games have an infinite amount of possibilities, and I think it'll just continue to grow as it's easier for people to learn how to make games, and we make engines free and democratize the process. I think that there's a lot of great studios out there doing really interesting things, from small 2 or 3 person studios to the big companies. Big companies like Ubisoft are doing awesome things. I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan, so that's kind of, I just like all those games. And Eidos is doing cool things with the Deus Ex franchise. Obviously, Epic is super successful with Fortnite, and I love all those people. And then Bethesda is great. All of their kind of studios, id Software, Machine Games. Again, I'm a little partial having worked there, but they're putting out quality content all the time. Blizzard is just consistently amazing with patches and updates to Overwatch, and the new one for World of Warcraft, which all of a sudden all of my friends are playing World of Warcraft again, which is crazy because the game's like 12 years old. And then there's a lot of indie studios that are doing really interesting things. So I think what's awesome about games is, 15 years ago you could name like 5 studios that were awesome, and now you can name probably 100. It's continuing to grow and continuing to have new studios come in, and they can be as small as 1 person. I have one friend who made a game all by himself that's pretty successful, and they could be 1,000 people. You never know how few or how many people you need to make a game successful. So lots of awesome studios out there. Esports is something that I don't have a lot of familiarity with, but the growth of it has been incredible to watch lately. So, in the United States, it's on like ESPN and like channels, different TV channels on the weekends, so you can watch people play Overwatch and different games. And then, colleges are starting to offer scholarships. So it's growing quite drastically in the US, which it's interesting because it's been bigger in Asia and parts of Europe than it has been in the States. And so now that it's starting to really grow in the States, that usually means that it's going to explode in popularity everywhere in the world. But I think I read that there were like more people that watched the League of Legends final than like the Super Bowl or something like that in the States. So it's massive. It continues to grow. What I always tell game developers is, you don't get a pick if your game is an esport. The community decides if it's an esport. You can build in features to help them decide that. But in general, if you go to design an esport, it's not necessarily going to be successful.
Now, the next lesson is about failure. If you've never failed, you are a liar. Failure is incredibly important to how we learn and how we grow. At this point, I was working on Doom 2016. And We struggled a lot with that game. It took us 9 years to make it. And the reason that we were struggling was because we kept blaming each other when we would fail. So we knew that we needed to change the way we worked as a company and celebrate failure. So what we did was we took a little inflatable unicorn and we gave it to everyone who failed. You put it on your desk so everybody knew you were the latest, greatest failure. I won it several times. And what that did was that let us embrace failure. So if you've played Doom, you know that the movement is really fast and the glory kill system is really brutal. Both of those came from us sending teams off and just telling them to fail as fast as they could. They would fail and come and show it to us, and we'd say, "Good job, you failed. Change it." Failure is important, and you must embrace it. There's a famous saying that says, "Fail early, fail often, but always fail forward."